Awesome. So here we are with Chris Green from Highway Christian Fellowship in Sydney, BC. And he has stumbled upon something pretty great that he's found has enhanced his youth ministry. And we're excited to share it with everyone. It is Discord. It is an app platform program that you can utilize to build community, essentially. He's our expert. How long have you been using it now for? I don't know, quite expert, but
I actually started using it about a year ago for other purposes,
okay.
but for the purposes of youth ministry, a couple of months now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I have heard of it before, and more like I know it's popular in the gaming world.
Hmm.
I know some YouTubers that have Discord channels
Yeah.
to build up their kind of communities.
Hmm.
But Chris was telling me about it. It's the first time I heard about it being used for youth ministry.
Hmm.
So excited to hear a little bit of like how this works. Like, how did you communicate this to youth? Kind of what settings did you use? Parent communication. Did they get on board with this? Just yeah, walk us through your kind of talking points and let us know all about Discord.
Absolutely. So, as Austin said, Discord is an app. It works on Android and Apple devices, as well as PC and Mac computers, and Chromebooks as well. So, I know for myself, we have several students where, um, a Chromebook is their main uh, device, and so it's just nice to know that it works there too. So, um, it will work technically anywhere because it can be run through the browser as well. So that's a good thing to know on that. So, as Austin said, Discord is an app, and it was initially designed for gamers and people in the gaming community to be able to can talk to each other over headsets and that sort of thing while they are playing their video games. It's matured as a platform since then. They've added video chat capability. They've added a few things, particularly in this since the pandemic has started. They've added a few more features to make it more community minded. Just because they know more people have been using it for those purposes. So, as Austin said, there's a lot of YouTubers and things who have been using it for community. So I got curious. I did a little digging to see, has anybody done this for youth ministry online? Because I've personally had, sort of a mixed kind of relationship when it comes to Zoom and other types and Skype and those kinds of things for the purposes of youth ministry. They're all great tools, but I was finding them challenging when it came to working with youth. And one of the things that I wanted to develop was not just a place where we could do our weekly sort of meeting with the kids through a video call, but that we could also have ongoing conversations, so in a safe setting. So, various youth ministries, maybe you have, a group WhatsApp chat or a group, Instagram or text chat with some of the leaders and some of the kids or whatever, however you do it. But I wanted to put everything in one place. I didn't want to have to send out invites continually each time we did a call. Just go in, boom, we're there. So that's one of the benefits that Discord was able to offer. And I was able to find several articles that kind of laid out how they did it for youth ministry. And I would be happy to share those. I don't have them on me at the moment, but I'd be happy to share those links with anybody who's interested. You can either email myself or get that contact from Austin, and he can connect you with me, and I can pass on those links. So yeah, so the reason it was a good choice for me for youth was because I wanted to foster ongoing communication throughout the week and the video calls all in one place. So it offered me that. So I'll just show you real quickly. Share my screen here. This is Discord. Now, when I open it up, this is what I see initially on my left-hand side of the screen. There's a list of people in my contacts. And friends and all that kind of stuff. This is just generically what I would get as someone on the app. Now, on the left side, the far left, you'll see a series of. Can you see my mouse as well? Excellent. So there you'll see a series of different communities and whatnot. So this is as Austin mentioned, there's a YouTubers community. So this is a YouTuber who I'm part of their sort of community. But then this here is our engage. That's the name of our youth ministry. We have that that there. So this is built up, this is broken down in basically 3 sections. It's going to look slightly different if you were on a mobile app, but the fundamentals are obviously all the same. If you've ever used any software, maybe for work, like Slack or Microsoft Teams, it's a very similar concept. So on the left side there, we've got a list. You'll see kind of a list of titles there with a hashtag. So each of those is what's called a channel. So it's a different discussion thread for a different, it's a group chat, but it's for different topics. So I've got a general, I'm letting kids know, oh, hey, everyone, join us on Sunday, watch our, live stream or whatever, or we're meeting at 7 p.m. tonight, for a thing. So, and got different topics. People can put in prayer requests, of course. But there's 2 main kinds of channels, which I'll highlight here, is a text chat channel. That's like this one. And the ones you'll see a little speaker button here. That means it's a channel where we can talk through audio and video. So when we connect into that, like I can click on it right now, and it'll show that I am in that channel talking. I could turn on the video. It's not really going to work right now because I'm using my webcam for this call, but you'll see something like this. You would see my face here. You'd see the other kids here. And this aspect is very familiar to Zoom. You've even got the ability to toggle between sort of a focus view, a grid view. So all of that, you can screen share. All of that is very similar. And then on the right-hand side, you'll get a list of the people in your group. And in my case here, I have them categorized. And that's something that you can do. You can assign different roles to different people. And that the beauty of that is you can set permissions for different roles. So up at the top here, it says mentors. That's what we call our leaders. So I'm one, my wife, Hannah, she's one, and we have that mentor role. And that gives us certain permissions to be able to say mute people or remove people if necessary, or block people from certain chats, whatever it may be. We have a lot of those rules, whereas the students don't necessarily have those roles to start, changing all of the settings around, which is handy. You can also have some informational rules. So for example, I'll just right click on this person here. If I go to the bottom, it lists the roles, and we have engaged student, they're a student, but then this one down here is just informational. It doesn't change their permissions, but it lets me know that they're a high schooler. So if, say, I wanted to send a message to all of the high schoolers, I could just type at the bottom here at high school, and then that message, whatever I type here, is going to send a notification to only the high school students. So if I had a special event that we were doing online that was just for the high schoolers or just for the middle schoolers, etc., I could tag their particular group and it would go to just them. And you could do that for leaders or what have you. And again, with these permissions, you can set it up not just for those certain things I mentioned before, but also so that people are only allowed access to certain channels. That's a really, really handy feature. So for example, down at the bottom, I have a leader chat. So you'll see on the side, when I click on that, the people on the right-hand side change. There's only 2 people available now. Those are only the leaders can see this chat. Or we have a point scoreboard. We have a point system for kids who've won points for different games and things like that. We can see that chat. We can change that. This is just for our reference, but the kids can't go in and change their points. So yeah, so you can make you don't need to have as many channels as we do. We've gone a little overkill here, but you could have just a general channel. You could have and your voice channel, and that's fine. But you can see that there are some different uses to keep things more organized. For example, we play Among Us with the kids a lot. Who's not doing that right now, right? So we have a chat here that's dedicated just to Among Us, people putting in, the room code and that sort of thing. So that everybody has that information. You can also create channels that people can view, but they can't edit. So for example, this channel here is called This Week's Content. Maybe we made a video, maybe that we want the kids to see. We can drop that link in here. They have access ready to whatever content we have, but they can't type in this chat here. They can view this chat, they can grab the link here, but they can't spam that chat and, sort of hide all that information where it's all in, where you've got your general topic channel and you're putting all your links in there, and then everybody starts having a conversation about their favorite taco, and before you know it, that one person who did need that information, they have to scroll way, 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 way up, and they're never going to see it. So it's handy to have that kind of channel. So you can be changing all of those settings. You'll see here, there's a little gear on each of these channels. If you hover over it, you can edit those channel settings. You can explain what the purpose of that channel is. You've got the opportunity for a what's called a slowdown mode. So that would be perhaps maybe you've got that one kid who likes to send so many spam messages. You could put a slowdown mode of 10 seconds. So that means they can't send, or maybe you say 30 seconds. They can't send more than one message in a 30-second span. So that's usually enough to make it boring to spam if you have to wait 30 seconds between every message. I've ended up turning that off on any channel that I set it up with because the kids have been pretty good, but it's nice to know that it's there. You've got all sorts of permissions here. So I could say that everyone has these. They can view everyone can view the channel. Engaged students, well, here I say they can't send messages in this channel, etc. The mentors, I've put it on, they can view it, they can manage it, they can manage the permissions, they can create an invite, they can send messages, they can embed links, attach files, etc., etc. So there's a lot of options in here. Don't let it overwhelm you. You only need to use what you need to use. You don't need to go through every setting. It's set up by default pretty intuitively, so you don't need to go through everything. Just go through what you feel the need to go through. Let me see. And of course, you can create a new channel, +sign, text channel, as we talked about before, for typing only, or a voice channel for talking. And they call it a voice channel because, as I said before, it was originally created for gamers to be talking using their voice while they're looking at a game, not looking at each other. So voice channels are also video channels. They have that option, but just understanding the language from the history of where the app came from, that's why they call it a voice channel. You can't type in a voice channel either, just so you know. And you can set it to be a private channel or not. So the difference being that a private channel, only the select individuals or select role types that you assign can view that channel. If you don't make it a private channel, then anybody on your whole server here of any role type, anything, can view this channel. Where that's handy is a safety feature that we use. So when somebody signs up they've made an account with Discord and they've followed our invitation link, I'll show you where that is. So if I go up to the top here, I can press invite people. And then I've got a link here. I could copy it. Or if I was already friends with somebody on Discord, I could invite them that way. But I can edit this invite link to expire, say, after 30 minutes or an hour, 6 hours, 12 hours a day, or never. Where that's advantageous is if you don't want somebody to be sharing that link with a whole bunch of other people just for security reasons, you could say, okay, well, I know they're going to use it within the next day. I'll let it expire after one day. They've got 2 kids, so I'm going to let it be more than one use. I'll do 5 uses. That should be fine. And then you can say generate new link, can copy that link. Once they've accepted that invite, if they don't have a Discord account or whatever, it's going to take that link, it's going to take them and ask them to set up a Discord account. And then in our case, they're going to only be able to see a couple channels. And that is the server rules. So we have a bunch of rules, spells out the acronym of GRACE. And they'll be able to see this introduce yourself channel. So this this channel is just there so I can confirm the identity of the person. So if somebody pops in, they've got a weird username because they followed that link, and I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure it's Joey, but I'm just going to say, hey, like, how's it going? Who is this or whatever? And I'm like, oh, it's Joey, Joey Cabrera or whatever his name is, right? And I say, oh, okay, that's Joey. Excellent. So then I can right click on their name. I can assign them a role of an engaged student. Joey's in high school. I can assign him high school. And once I assign him those roles, now he has access to the other channels that are appropriate for his particular roles rather than just the introduce yourself channel. And he no longer has access to the introduce yourself channel. What that does is creates a separation between the person who's brand new to our server and the people who are already in our server. So let's say somebody did get the link that I sent it to a parent for legitimate reasons. They copied it to their clipboard. They accidentally pasted that into a text message to somebody else. That person feels like a prankster. They want to go in and start monkeying around. No one's going to see them anywhere on the server unless I approve them out of this channel first, right? So he can't message anybody else. They can't message him until I have approved him. So that's kind of just like a screening thing that we do. So it's just a handy feature to have there. But before I go on, Austin, did you have any questions or things that you wanted me to clarify for anyone?
Yeah, no, I think this is fantastic. Like this is even more robust than I ever imagined. I definitely seeing the incredible value that it could bring to lots of ministries. So I have a few thoughts, but I think I'll leave those to the end.
Sure. I guess what I'll move on from here. Oh, one of the things that we have done, you would notice that the names of the people we have are all actual real names. So when somebody sets up, of course, there's no privacy thing here because it's only first names. But what I'm trying to illustrate that for is that on our server, one of our rules is people can only use their actual first name. So if you're creating an account, it's going to, set up a silly username like you can see in this case on the bottom left corner here. Mine says Fixiter. It's an old nickname. I set up the account a while ago, so that's why. But you'll notice on the top right here that it says Chris G. And so that is which for my name, right? So that is what is called a nickname. So here I can change nickname. So all of the nicknames are only the people's real names. And I have set it up so that the leaders can change the students' nicknames, but the students cannot. So that's something else I do when people once I've confirmed their identity kind of thing, I'm saying, okay, I'm going to change it to their actual name. It's just another security thing. So we can all be like knowing like who is who and et cetera, and that sort of thing. It also makes it a lot easier to track, especially if you have, we don't have a huge amount of students in our case, but if your group had, 30 plus students, let's say, and they all have these unique, confusing, Space Monkey 247 username, and they don't want to turn on their camera that day, it can get really confusing really fast. So we make sure everybody is using their actual name because it just makes it a whole lot easier for us. So I guess one question that people probably would have is, how safe is it? And how do I sell it to parents? Because they might be like, I've never heard of this app before. I know what Zoom is, and I know that the schools are using it, and I know that the things that they have in place to keep it safe, but I don't know this at all. So is it safe? So to that, I will answer yes and no, only because nothing on the internet is truly foolproof and safe. You're going to have to use wisdom and make sure that you're teaching people how to use things safely. Because at the end of the day, one thing that is vastly different about Discord from Zoom is that I'm not sure as I would go quite as far to say that Discord is a social networking kind of site, but there are elements of it that are are similar to that. So for example, like I said, on the far left here, you can see I've got the engaged community here. I've got this one for this YouTuber that I follow, and then my home here. My home is showing you that I have a bunch of different friends. Not all of those friends are people from our youth group. Some of them are just people that I know in my own personal life and that I'm connecting with. So there are the ability, because I have an account with Discord, that's separate from our Discord server here, right? So I have the ability to connect with other people as a user of Discord, and anybody who sets up an account with Discord has that ability. So be aware that that opportunity is there for anybody who's signing up with you. Now, what I would say to that is, and this is kind of how I basically addressed it with the parents in our context, is 90% of these kids are already on Instagram, TikTok, and half a dozen other things, or in all these big group chats with their friends and things. They're already connecting with their friends in different platforms and things already. And those are spheres where we have very little influence and no safeguards over. However, we're setting up our own space within this platform, allowing us to, and if we can make it as attractive as possible for the youth to be having their conversations with their friends here, then we can speak life into that space and have a semblance of controls over that. Nothing is going to be foolproof, in the same sense that when we are going and having in-person gatherings, we do all our best practices to make sure everybody is safe. We're following, our safety protocols, etc. But we can never say to anyone we have a 100% guarantee that nothing will ever happen. So I wouldn't say that to you, and I wouldn't suggest that you say that to your parents. But what I would suggest is that you come more from the angle of saying, is your kid on Instagram? Does your kid have a TikTok account? Okay, we don't have as much influence over what happens there, but we do have an influence of what happens here. So that's that caveat that I will say. That being said, Discord does have, I'm actually impressed with the level of things that Discord has to keep people safe. So, particularly if you're having, youth on the younger side, maybe if you had a, more middle school, junior youth kind of group, then maybe you might want to encourage the parents, like, okay, if your kids don't have an account already for Discord, and you might be surprised because when we set it up, almost half of the kids already had a Discord account. So if they don't, then you can always encourage the parents, okay, if that's something that you're concerned about, set it up on your email maybe, etc., so that you're getting, notification, whatever. Best practices that parents use, I guess was what I'm trying to say. But again, as I said, we've got to set up in a system where anybody who's new is being filtered through this introduction filter. And like I say, our invitations expire. We don't have it out there in a permanent nature. So it's an expiring invitation. That can create problems sometimes if you're sending out that invite to a parent and then they don't open their email for 3 days. But you figure that one out as it goes. There's also global settings as well to scan. I don't remember exactly where it is right now, but there is I can't remember off the top of my head where it is, but I can certainly find it at a later time. But there is a global setting to scan any images that are uploaded to it for inappropriate content. So, which is nice, because I don't know of that even, text messaging or anything else that does that. So it's nice that it's doing at least that level. Of course, it's a robot. It's not going to pick up everything. But each one of these things helps us to be more proactive in catching anything that goes on. So so those are kind of the angles that I would say to address that. Now, it probably looks from looking at this that I took a long time setting this up and a lot of meticulous going through settings and this and that, but I didn't. I mean, I did to a degree, but not as much as it probably looks like. So I was able, within the articles that I was doing when I was doing my own research for this, find a youth group in the States that had done something similar, and they actually created a server template that you can use and then edit for your own purposes. Now, it actually had, believe it or not, it actually had more channels than I've used here, and I've deleted some of them because it was just too much. And they had more rules than I need because they were a much larger group than mine. But that's what you can either build it from scratch, or there are templates out there, which again, I can get links to people if they need it. So yeah, any thoughts or questions there, Austin?
Yeah, I think one of my biggest questions, I think the concerning question for most people is that what you addressed is parents, what are their thoughts and all that. So one of my questions is do you have any parents that are part of this Discord server?
Mm-hmm. I don't. I know that when I set up the server from the template and removed certain things that were excess for me, the template did have, for example, a role for parents where you could mark someone as a parent. Now, what they recommended doing, because it's an interesting situation when we're talking about parents, because on the one hand, you're saying, okay, this parent would be able to peek in to be able to make sure things are safe for their kids. But if another parent doesn't know that parent very well, that ability for parent A to be able to peek in could be of greater concern to parent B than none of them being able to peek in. So you have to balance those things, of course. So what they did in their server was the parent role had the ability to view what was going on, as in they could read messages, etc., as in all of the public chats and that they could read messages, but they couldn't write messages. So they couldn't have a conversation with the other youth, etc., but they could see what was going on and make sure that there was safety. So, and think of it as the approved observer in the back of the room kind of thing. It's kind of that version digitally. So that's something that you could do. I haven't personally had any requests for that. And I think that's mostly just because we've built up a lot of trust with parents. And so we've been in a very blessed, fortunate situations to have a very good relationship with the parents. I realize that's it's different for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. So in your specific context, you may find the need for that. And so that's probably what I would recommend. Or better yet, you can always encourage them to go through some safety training and become a volunteer.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, that's great. I think that's a great recommendation. And because I think like most of these online platforms, typically there's that 13 and older,
mm-hmm.
kind of like the requirement, for Facebook, Instagram, mm-hmm. TikTok. And whether people follow that or not, that's up to the parent and the family, right? Mm-hmm. But knowing that that's you're grade 8 and above, mm-hmm. And I think you mentioned this earlier when you were talking about parents, about having them set up with their email, mm-hmm. right? So if the parents are a little bit weary, instead of letting their 12-year-old, 11-year-old set up an account, mm-hmm. they can set up an account as the parent, mm-hmm. And then just let their child use it, throughout the week, youth nights, and all that. So
yeah, totally. And I think the only caveat I would add with that is just, I know we've had a couple things where like, mom and dad are tech support because maybe the kids are still figuring out how to use the platform. And so, so they've had to jump on their account and kind of like figure things out and whatnot. And that's totally fine. But just bearing that in mind for, thinking your worst case scenario sort of safety concerns, I would really encourage that when you're doing your your actual meetings over video and stuff, that you really encourage people to have cameras on. And not everybody likes that, especially the introverts. They're like, no, I don't want to, I can't let you see my face. It's not like that happens when we're in person. But I really try and encourage it. It just gives me the peace of mind that everybody is who they say they are and all that kind of stuff. No one's jumping on somebody's account, etc. Plus, you can tell people are paying attention more or not. That's another story. But yeah, so I would encourage that. And there's creative ways you can go about doing that. For example, at Christmas time, we had our virtual Christmas party using Discord. And what I did was, as I mentioned before, we have a point system for prizes. And so I gave out points for an ugly sweater contest. But the caveat was I had to be able to see your ugly sweater in the camera. So people had their cameras on. So there's obviously creative ways you can go about that, depending on your context and that sort of thing.
That's good. Did you send like an email to parents letting them know that you're starting with Discord?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I sent out an email to the parents, basically explaining how we were going to do it differently. Well, actually, before, because I was doing a lot of research and I wasn't sure I was going to be going with Discord necessarily, I had kind of let them know ahead of time, like, hey, we're going, when we went back sort of into going back to online from in person, I'm like, hey guys, like, I know that there were hiccups and issues when we tried to use Zoom last time. Basically, yeah. But so I'm going to be looking at some alternatives, but I'm going to keep you guys posted because I want to find out what's safe, what works for us, etc. So they knew that was coming. And then when I was set on Discord, I took a few weeks, where I had time to kind of tweak it and make sure I was happy with it before I joined anybody in. I took a few weeks to, here's my template. I'm taking out the stuff I don't need. I'm adding the stuff that I need. I added in, my wife so that I could test it out, send her a message. Is this working? What do you see, kind of thing. If I set you as, just for pretend, I set you as a student, what do you see? What do you know? That kind of thing, which, by the way, I should mention that in the settings, if you go over to roles and I go to students, for example, I can say view server as role. So if you are testing those things out, you want to make sure, what do they see? What do they not see? View server as role, and now you only see what they see. So that is a very handy feature. But anyways, I set those things, I tweaked those things, and then once I was happy with it, I sent an email out to the parents and basically explained, this is what this platform is. This is why I want to use it. Here's how it's a benefit, kind of thing, putting in those angles to it. And I didn't have anybody having any issues with it personally. A few of the parents even had actually used Discord themselves. And so I think I was pretty fortunate. That might not be the case for everybody where they have a lot of people who are familiar with it. But even if they're not familiar with Discord, one of the things I was able to use in conversations was a lot of them have used either Slack or Microsoft Teams within a business context at work. And so because they're familiar with that, and if you've used either of those platforms, it's very similar. It's just a little more hip looking and has a few more features that work a bit better for this. And because it's built for games, we've been able to play some free games and stuff together very easily because it's built with that in mind. So yeah, so I did send an email out. I'd be happy to even kind of, if anybody wants to see sort of like a template or an example version of what I sent out that they can cannibalize for their purposes, I'm happy to share that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Right on. Well, is there anything else that I'm trying to think if there's anything that I've missed? Again, like I said, it works on mobile as well as the computer, and I found that very valuable for me because as great as Zoom is for what Zoom does, it's really figuring out mobile a lot slower. It works on mobile, but it's figuring it out a lot slower compared to Discord, which has been on mobile for a while. Where that's a benefit, it is, I don't know if this is true for everybody in everybody's groups, but for my group, I find that a lot of the kids don't even have computers, but they do have a phone. And so thinking mobile first is something I've had to really try and do, like, okay, does this work on mobile or not, well or not? So it does. So that's been a positive.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Would you be able to kind of just briefly just kind of highlight what a typical week would look like for your Discord engagement? Like, what channels would you use, you know, on your specific youth night? Like, how does that look? Just kind of walk us through that.
Absolutely. So I'll break down a kind of a typical week, I guess. At the beginning of the week, we have Sunday services. That's a whole separate sort of event and everything that's put together separately. But we try to encourage the youth to take part in that. So what we do is I will drop a link probably in either this week's content here, or I will drop it in the general here. And I might say something, I'll do like at everyone. So everyone in the server gets notified, and I'll say something like, hey, well, there's a message right here as an example. Hey, everyone, join us watching the Sunday service here's the link kind of thing. And, I let them know that there is a chat box within our Sunday service. It's for the whole congregation, so be respectful there. But one of the things we've done is sort of think of it as an after party, if you will. After the Sunday service, we'll come back here, and in our small group discussion chat, we will talk about what we thought, different things we thought about the service or whatever. So that's something that we'll do. So Tuesday is where we have our youth meetings. And so again, I'll just be dropping something in here, like this message that says, I've tagged everyone, and I said, see you tonight at 7 p.m. for games and continuing our look at Genesis. That's where we've been studying lately. So I just give them, and that was sent yesterday at 3:48. And then we were obviously meeting at 7. So I'm putting out that sort of notification earlier, just to kind of remind them, hey, like it's Tuesday today, and we're doing our thing. So, and sometimes we'll get a little bit of response there, or they'll just show up, right? So then what happens is a few minutes before 7, I will put out a message like this one here that's like, hey, join us in the Engage Lounge. That's what we call our main voice video channel. And so, so I will jump in there and I will start my video on kind of thing. And then I will just talk with whoever's early. We'll just talk about their week or whatever, ask what's new, whatever. And then at 7, I will, I'll start a game. So what I've been using is the Grow Curriculum has a great free app called Grow Games. You can find all sorts of great free games. And what's lovely is that they are searchable for social distancing and screen games. So I will search the screen games, and we'll find a game that we can play all through just slides, right? And we'll start that off at 7. It's kind of a low-key game, very passive kind of game, just something while people are kind of coming in, And so, for example, last night we played a game called, it's something like Mom, I'm Fine, or something like that. It's a camp, all these postcards from kids at camp. Part of the postcard is blanked out. You have to guess what it says in the blanked out part. And so we'll go through that for about 10 minutes or something like that. And then we'll kind of start our lesson time. And I've done this a few different ways. You might find different things work better for you. So what I was initially doing was I would pre-record a video. I would share it ahead of time. And the idea was the kids would watch it. We could talk about it briefly, maybe for 5 minutes, kind of as a discussion. And then we could spend some more time sort of socializing. The problem was that over time they weren't watching it. So what we ended up always doing was kind of doing like if less than 50% of you guys haven't watched it, I'm just going to screen share YouTube, and we're going to all watch it together, and then we'll talk about it afterward. Now, the one benefit of doing it that way is that they paid attention more because it was a video for some reason than me actually just talking. But we've kind of transitioned from there, and it's been going fine. So I'm just presenting it again live as we're having our video call, which offers the opportunity for those interaction with questions and stuff. So we've been doing a study in Genesis, so we're going through that. We talk about it for a little bit, then we have our discussion, question, blah blah blah. Anybody got any prayer requests, etc. And then we transition from there, and we'll play a little bit of more of an interactive game. In our case, it pretty much is always either Among Us or Jackbox has a game called Drawful. It's like Pictionary. It's a fun game, and so it's we'll do one of those two games, and then we'll just kind of finish off the night like that. Our program's only an hour, so we keep it kind of short and tight. And then throughout the week, it's not uncommon for somebody to start talking about something random in one of these channels, like I don't know, food or sports, like, oh, are you guys gonna watch the Canucks tonight or whatever, that kind of thing, or whatever. We have a lot of artistic people, so maybe they'll be talking about art and what they're working on and that kind of sort of thing. And so yeah, we'll have that kind of thing. And we have a few people who really like to play Rocket League. So throughout the week, it's not uncommon for us to be like, hey, like I got some free time, let's play Rocket League, guys, like blah 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 blah. So we join up for that. And then the whole cycle repeats again on Sunday. That's pretty much what it would look like for us.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So yeah, this has been such an incredible information-loaded session, and it's been so good. Like, I think this is something that can really benefit so many groups. So I think that's where we're at. Is just that creativity to go beyond the single night of what a typical youth night would be, right? Mm-hmm. How do we continually build community and engage with students throughout the week? And not just once, right? And I think too, like how do we get the students who are the community to engage with each other throughout the week?
Yes.
Right? Because I know it can be simple for us as leaders to engage like one-on-one with a kid, text them, ask them how their week was, send them a message. But I think that's so cool to see them on those different channels to be engaging with each other, right? Like they're taking the initiative to talk to each other throughout the week.
Yeah, totally.
As the church community. So that's great.
Yeah, I would say that in that regard, one of the things that helped us, because especially at first, it was more weak in that regard. It was more like I'm just sending out the message, and then it feels like a glorified conversation with them and me all the time. And it was like, I want to get them talking together more. So, some of that just came as people got to know each other better. But another thing that really helped me is I kind of looked at, okay, I just kind of like sat myself down, so to speak, and it was like, who are the kids who I can't get to stop talking, normally speaking? Okay, can I encourage them to start these conversations rather than me? And so I kind of, talk to them like, hey, like, you're so good at talking about these kinds of things. Like, can you really help me? Like, and giving that sense of empowerment and knowing that they're helping in some way was big for them. And so that really helped it when it was coming from them initially, kind of thing, So it's been and trying to point them back here. So we already had a pre-existing Instagram group chat for the students that had Instagram, and not all of them did. And so I had to kind of very intentionally try and move a lot of those conversations over here so that over time they're starting to think of doing it here first. And it's not that this is superior to the other necessarily, but that this is where everybody was able to come. So it was like being able to encourage that and that sort of thing. So
yeah, I love it. So yeah, for those of you that have made it all the way to the end here, feel free to reach out. You can reach out to me at atoews@bc.paoc.org. You can email me. It's great. Chris, what's the best way to contact you if they have any questions?
Yeah, they can email me as well at Chris, CHRIS, at HCF SIDNEY.ca.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.